So we were just talking, and you said something. It's my buddy said this to me. It's a curious person's game. One of the things I see on YouTube is like, Claude just ended Figma or all this ending, and stop, chill out. But you said before we got on, it's a curious person's game. What do you mean?
So just off the top of my head, in a world now where you could literally, in your natural language, however you speak, ask one of these systems to build you something, to do something for you, whatever it may be, and see the result of it near instantly, I think it takes a special, I guess, I don't want to say special, but like a certain type of mindset of curiosity to just be like, wow, I wonder what I can build, and to just go. And like I know myself, I'll spend hours, even if it's not productive and it's nothing that I'm gonna sell,
Mm-hmm.
nothing I'm doing for anybody, just on my own, like seeing what I can build. And I know there is a lot, at least like I don't know if it's true. I've read articles of like a lot of kids who used to play video games a lot growing up are now, obviously they're older now, have that same chemical response, whatever it might be, vibe coding
Mm.
as they call it, with these programs, because it's that ability of like back then they was like, oh, I want to build like an iPhone app. Oh, I got to go learn Swift. I got to go learn how to work in Xcode. I got to go learn all these things to build like a little video game. Where now I can be like, I want to build Call of Duty for my phone, and I can just go and play with it, mess around, change the colors, change this, that, whatever, instantly, and like hold my attention span, but allow me to kind of create whatever my mind thinks about. Where there is a lot
Mm.
of people, and like you talked about this too, of like the whole structure thing, of like, I need to know this, this, and this, and like, no hate to those kind of people. Like, obviously, that's an important type of person to have. But when using this, and I think to be kind of successful in this type of field, and really use it to its full capacity, you gotta kind of have that open mindset of like, let's see what I can build, let's experiment. Like it's gonna fail 50 times, 100 times, but that one time you get something right, it's so rewarding. Like I have no idea how to explain it, but it's
Yeah,
one of the coolest feelings come
I
from
know.
your brain to the screen.
I know you know this, that right, everyone knows I own a marketing company, but I was an engineer. I have an engineering degree. Um, I know this is not supposed to be a self help podcast, but what you just said is I've had to actually learn to navigate it, because anything I think I can go try and build right now. And so
Yep.
um, I had to figure out how to shut that down, which historically you just would get tired, right? Like you didn't
Yep.
have the tools to go build everything you could
Yep.
think. And so eventually you'd get tired and you would stop.
Yeah.
Now I don't have, like, you're not going to
Yep.
get
You
tired.
don't have to stop.
You're just talking to a machine and it's
Yep.
building for you. And the progress you're seeing, it's like that game of, like, nobody built this with gamification in mind, but it is naturally because of how
Yep.
fast it moves.
Yep.
So the self-help part of this, I always read. You can't see there's a bunch of books back here, but you can't see on the other side of the computer. I have bookshelves all over the place. I always read, like, nonfiction books, just business books, and I have gotten into nonfiction books,
Okay.
fantasy books, because it's
Yeah.
like it like literally will just shut me down. Like I'll just get
Yeah. Yeah.
absorbed into like a fantasy novel, and it just
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Okay.
shuts shuts the engineer
Yeah.
out. So
I need that.
that's not what this episode was supposed to be about, but I thought that was really interesting that you brought that up.
Yep.
This is supposed to be, we want to talk about model updates. So the first episode we recorded, I believe Mythos, the press on Mythos came out
Yeah.
either that morning or the following day. And so we didn't want to comment on it. But a couple things I want to talk about is the model updates. So since we last got on, we went from Opus 4.6 to 4.7. We had
Mhm.
Kimi K2.6 get released. Google released 3 open source models,
Yep.
and Spud is OpenAI's big new fancy model, and Opus's Claude's Anthropic's Mythos is their new model. So Mythos has gotten all of the PR. I have a question for you, but I want to, if you don't mind, I'm going to go first on this one, because
Yeah.
I think people don't understand who Anthropic is as a business. And they are marketing geniuses, first and foremost, that I don't think outsiders fully appreciate. And they did this in 2023. I think it was the first year they did this, where before they dropped a model, they're like, this is going to change the world. There's going to be no jobs, and everybody freaked out. And then they dropped this model, and everybody like started playing with it, and like, oh, this is pretty good. It didn't have any of that. Like we haven't. That never happened, right? That was
Yeah.
3 year. That didn't happen. And then we heard Mythos that dropped all of these crazy, like it hacked all of these things. It built
Yeah.
a kernel unsupervised. It just did all this crazy code, and all the benchmarks were like
Yeah.
off the charts. And then they built this project Glasswing, for those who don't know what that is, but it would like they gave this product to Google, who's a technically
Yeah.
competitor, and Amazon, and all these different businesses, and they said this is for security and all of these things. And one thing that people don't know about Anthropic, they don't own their own compute. So what is likely happening is they don't actually have the compute to release this model to their users. That's my opinion. I don't know that to be true. My guess is they looked at the math and they said, okay, even if we charge $2,000 for this model, $2,000 a month for this model, there will still be enough business users
Yeah.
that we can't keep up with the compute because of how large. Is it 10? I think it's 10 billion parameter model. Is that right? Or is it 10?
Yeah, it's crazy. Let me
Crazy
check,
big.
but
These are all, if you're a business owner and you're listening to this, these are all technical specs you don't need to know. The point is that, and we're going to find out, but I don't believe that it's this big scary thing. I think they're just really good at marketing and PR, and they ultimately didn't have the compute. And so they said, hey, well, we build compute or find compute, or however we're going to get it for the release of this. We'll just make it sound big and scary because that'll make everybody want it, right? There's like, this is like well known. The marketing book is actually sitting on my floor about using fear to drive sales. I don't believe in that type of marketing, but we have seen Anthropic do this over and over and over. And then they play like like, oh, we're just looking out for the little guy. It's like, no, you're
Yep.
not. You're just trying to
Yep.
sell. You're just trying to sell tokens. So
Yep.
I'm going to say that about Mythos. However, Ryan, you are one of the few people I know that has even gotten a preview of it. I know you didn't really get to play with it for reasons we can't actually talk about, but what are some of your comments on it? What you expect to see from it?
Yeah, the main thing I expect to see, and kind of what I like talked about or discussed in how I've seen it, was the main was self-learning and self-healing, and it's like actual autonomous behavior. So instead of telling like an Opus 4.7, which is great, every single thing you want, like I want this build, then this build, and then this, you go into this model and you tell it what you want one time, and it will kind of understand the objective, continue as it's building, continue learning from outside sources on your objective, and set its own goals, if you will. It's not like plan mode. It's not like
So
that. It's like,
does it have its own like Ralph? We can tell people what Ralph loop is, but does it have, essentially it's doing its own Ralph loop?
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, in a sense. And I don't know technically, obviously, I can't say. But,
Sure.
Like, I don't know, but like that's just my guess on something of what it would be. Because it also can self heal. It will read its own outputs and then be like, oh, this was wrong because of this, this, and this. Let me redo that and kind of self iterate over. It's kind of like what a human does when they review their code, for example. If we're just talking about that, and continue iterating over that until it gets the results that it really wants.
It's like a Ralph loop plus. So for those who don't know what a Ralph loop is, a Ralph loop is a set of instructions that an AI uses to see if it's met its objective. What Ryan is describing is a Ralph loop that is not only checking to see if it's met its objectives, but then self-healing, right? It's like, and some of the Ralph loops that I've seen people use do that, but maybe it's not like you have to instruct it where it sounds like this is truly.
You don't. It's truly like an automated operator compared to an AI assistant.
And so people are assuming or hoping or assuming, I don't know, maybe both, but that OpenAI's, it's called Spud, their model will be of similar caliber. And I think they're hoping, because they know OpenAI won't hold it back, but they're not going to hold it back if you are, this is my opinion, they're not going to hold it back because they have the compute for
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see, because we haven't seen any benchmarks. We
No,
actually thought it was going to be, I thought it was going to be out this week. I don't know if it is.
I don't
Maybe it'll
think
be
it's a
next.
release date.
I don't think they've released, but that one we don't have any details on. It's
Yep.
no seen benchmarks, but people are hopeful that the benchmarks are similar. My dev team uses Codex. They love it. They think it's great. So
Yep.
Codex, for those who are listening, Codex is OpenAI's coding AI. So I spend most of my time in Claude. I go back
Yep.
and forth.
Same.
That's where I'm at. Natural segue into the upgrade from 4.6 to 4.7. That's Opus. So that's Claude's current top model. And so 4.6 people loved, I guess. Yeah, I would say like they all thought it was wonderful.
It was great. Yeah.
It orchestrated really well. What are some of the differences, some big differences from 4.6 to 4.7? And there's some conspiracy theories on why that is, which we can talk about. But what are the main differences that you're seeing with 4.6 to 4.7?
The biggest one I could talk about is its long term. How do you say it? Like it's long term, long task reasoning. On 4.6, like I don't, for people who haven't used it, if you give it a task, you have it planned, do whatever, and it takes say 30, 40 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, whatever it may be, it
Mm-hmm.
would slowly, as it would fill up, it would almost lose its context on what it was building. So you could ask it one thing to like build something blue, and after an hour of iterating something, it turns out like a blue purple, like if that makes sense. Whereas in what I've experienced and what I've read about too, the 4.7 is it keeps that context window a lot tighter. So if you want something blue in 3 hours, you're going to get a blue cube or whatever it might be. Which is a huge thing because it's great for like building agentic flows, build big apps, websites, even probably.
I don't know
Um,
about you, but this is the reason I never built inside of the Claude environment. I always built inside of an IDE. So for those who don't know, an IDE, I always forget what it stands for, but it's essentially a development environment.
yeah, integrated development environment.
There you go. Integrate. So it looks like a developer tool. So I have my
Yep,
code, my AI code is, I'm talking
yep,
to it. I can use the terminal, which is like actually editing code on the computer. I can see any files I want. I can see all my folders open. But in an IDE, you're much less prone to running into some of these context window problems over time.
yep,
So it also lets you use cheaper models and still get good
yep,
results. So
yep,
that's always hard when I hear people go, oh, like this model doesn't work that well. If you are structuring folders well with like proper folder structure, proper MD files, proper, if everything is structured well, like you can use a cheaper model and still get the
yeah,
same results. Versus if you're in Claude's desktop or wherever, I guess you'd be in desktop if you're coding, that's when those context window problems
yep,
start to occur. But the IDE does feel intimidating to non-technical people.
yeah, true.
I am fairly technical. I'm comfortable with these things, but it's nothing to be afraid of. It's just a bunch of folders and you talking to AI and
Yeah,
getting to
yeah,
like. I think people see like the night, the dark, and they get like, oh, this looks like
yeah, that's
scary.
true. It is scary.
So then the other two things that came out, and I haven't played with this. I don't know if you have. My senior developer played with it. He said it's incredible. Kimi K2.6. So it is matching the benchmark of Opus 4.6, not of Opus 4.7, but it did match. It is matching those benchmarks.
Okay.
And so if you're using OpenRouter would be the place you would go. So if you're in the United States, you use a tool called OpenRouter, and essentially
Mm,
it gives you tokens. I believe it is 20%, if not more, 15% the cost per token of Opus 4.7, and the weights are, it's an open source model, meaning that
yep.
you can see its weights. This is all technical speak, but hearing great things about that. Have you played with it yet? Not
All
yet.
I've
Okay.
heard about was the context window is huge.
Okay.
So
It's
like
like
millions of
millions,
tokens
right?
compared
Yeah.
to whatever Opus is, which is pretty cool. But again, I haven't played with it at
Mhm.
all, so I can't speak on that.
And then Google did something really fascinating since last we spoke. They released three open source models, and the small one can run on most um, computers, which is incredible.
Yeah.
Uh, Somebody was talking about how we're going to build these huge models, and then we're going to take, essentially, for a business owner that's listening to this, we're going to take all the best pieces and then we're going to compress it and make it way smaller.
Yep.
And
Yep.
eventually we will have models that are just as good as Opus 4.7 running on like our, not even, I mean, our phones obviously are actually big
Yep.
compute devices, but things like your refrigerator might have AI functionality in
Yep.
it. Like
Yep. Yep.
it'll just be it'll just be like free intelligence almost, which is wild to think about. So those are the big model updates. Have I missed any big ones that you are aware of? Those were the big ones
Those
that
are
I.
the big ones that I would follow. Yeah.
So if you're a business owner and you're hearing us talk about these different models, this is where I come back to not. So I guess to like tie this all together, why it's important to understand these models is yes, today Opus 4.7 might be the leading model. We might have Spud next week
Yep.
from OpenAI. And so if your world, your AI world is built on the Claude platform, the Claude platform, which Anthropic owns, and the new hot model comes out next week, how easy is it for you to go use that new incredible model? Like, what do your systems look like? How easy is it to integrate? Now, I know if like Ryan has built systems for you, he's going to be able to sub out these LLMs pretty easily. If you've built your world on one of these platforms, you can't sub out Claude with something else. Like that's it, you know. So
Yeah.
the way my team works is we have agentic workflows, and we've talked about this, but we have just just folders with instructions.
Yeah.
We can pull different LLMs into those,
Yeah.
and so if tomorrow Spud comes out, I can just easily switch my IDE from Claude Code
Yep.
to OpenAI, and I'm up and running. And
Yep.
then I have all my folders structured. I have my proposal folder. I have my
Yep.
marketing folders. I have everything. It just is like a flip of a switch. I'm in with a new, smarter model. And so that, as a business owner, I think that for me, that would be the point to drive home is don't get stuck inside of one company's platform because it's
Yeah.
moving so fast and they're going to leapfrog and it's going to get cheaper. Like if Mythos comes out and it does cost 2,000, we don't know. It does if it does cost $2,000 a month and you're a small business, right? That might be out of reach. But if Spud comes out and you can all you need is $500 worth of Spud, like, and they're kind of equal. Like you've built the systems that can handle different LLMs. It's a smart business decision. So
Yep.
that's actually something I don't hear a lot of AI people talking about, making your systems LLM
Dynamic. Yeah. You can
dynamic,
change it.
agnostic.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So, all right, we'll keep this one short. Anything else to add to that about thinking about being able to model switch?
No, I mean, you covered it. As long
Cool.
as your system's organized, data's organized, that's what matters. The model will be
Yes.
able to learn whatever you built out if it's organized.
Clean, organized data,
Yep.
which is
Simple.
so sounds easy, but it is not.
It's not.
All right. Until next time.